It always starts the same way. She looks at you, not for who you are, but for what she imagines you could become. You feel it in her gaze, don't you? That glimmer of hope. Or is it hunger? You think you're being truly seen, but you're not. You're being measured, evaluated, scanned like a blank canvas, waiting for her to paint her masterpiece. But the masterpiece isn't you. It never was. And Carl Jung warned you about this. What if I told you that the most intoxicating love you've experienced was a complete illusion? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on a shocking psychological truth about some women that most men will never hear. This isn't pop psychology or pick-up advice. It's deeper, darker, and drawn from the work of Carl Jung, a psychological authority from the shadows. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you might just see your past relationships in a whole new light. The problem. Jung's dark truth about projection. Jung discovered a hidden mechanism in relationships. We don't fall in love with a person. We fall in love with an image our mind projects onto that person. In Jungian psychology, every man carries an unconscious feminine side, the anima, and every woman carries an unconscious masculine side, the animus. When you meet the one, your unconscious often isn't seeing them at all. It's seeing a reflection of your own inner ideal. Jung insisted that many of our passionate attachments are essentially projections. You're attributing your own hidden qualities, fantasies, and desires to another person. Think about it. That instant love at first sight feeling, that overwhelming surge of "this is the perfect woman." Jung would say you're really in love with a part of yourself that you see in her. She, in turn, might not see you clearly either. Instead, she sees the man she hopes you could be, her inner masculine made flesh. It's a two-way hall of mirrors in the psyche. This is Jung's dark truth. Some women don't fall in love with you as you are. They fall in love with their animus projection on you. And some men do the same with their anima. In other words, we're often in love with an illusion, a fantasy partner our unconscious paints onto a real person. Here's the brutal part. You don't realize it. Neither does she. Both of you are unwitting actors on what Jung calls a psychological stage, playing roles in each other's inner drama. You might notice red flags. She adored you at first. You could do no wrong. But then she began trying to improve you. Little criticisms, subtle suggestions. Wear this, not that. Maybe change your job. You could be so much more. It feels like she's trying to reshape you, and in a way she is. The woman who fell for your potential now wants to mold you into that ideal. Why? Because unconsciously she isn't in love with you, only with the idea of you. Your real traits, your real feelings, those are inconveniences to her fantasy. The result? Heartbreak and confusion. You feel bitter, maybe used. She said she loved me, but it's like I was never enough as I am. She feels disappointed, even resentful. Why won't he become the man I know he could be? Both of you suffer, caught in a cycle of idealization and disillusionment. Jung saw this pattern over and over. We project our souls onto others and call it love, only to discover we were loving a dream. And when reality crashes in, when the dream partner reveals their human imperfections, the relationship cracks. Cue the fights, the fading passion, the "you're not who I thought you were" conversations. Sound familiar? Most men never identify this core issue. They blame women or blame themselves without realizing they were trapped in a psychological illusion from the start. Jung's work isn't mainstream pop culture. It's arcane, even mystical to some. But it holds a mirror to this exact situation. The mirror shows a terrifying thing. You were never truly loved, nor truly loving, because neither of you actually saw the other. You both fell in love with parts of yourselves. This is a brutal truth and it stings, but recognizing it is the first step out of the trap. The psychological trap unveiled. Let's dig deeper into how this psychological trap actually works. Jung used specific terms to explain it. Anima, animus, persona, shadow, individuation. Don't let the jargon scare you. I'll decode each one with real-life examples. Projection of anima animus. Jung observed that a man's anima, his unconscious feminine side, often gets projected onto women he falls for, making him believe she is embodying all the magic and comfort of his soul. Similarly, a woman's animus, unconscious masculine side, is projected onto men, causing her to attribute almost superhuman potential to a guy she barely knows. Have you ever had a woman idealize you insanely fast, telling you after a couple dates that you're different from all other guys, that she sees something great in you? That's a clue. You've been cast to play a role in her inner story. She's not seeing Joe from down the street. She's seeing a hero, a savior, an archetype from her own mind. It's intoxicating for both of you. You feel like a king who wouldn't, and she feels like she's finally found him. But what happens when you inevitably act like yourself and not the hero of her dreams? The illusion shatters. No one can live up to an archetype forever. Disappointment is guaranteed. The persona, your social mask. While this projection is happening, you might also be putting on a mask to keep her love. Jung called this mask the persona, the face we present to the world to fit in and be liked. Maybe you start pretending to be someone you're not just to match her ideal. She imagines you as a future millionaire, so you play along like you have grand ambitions, even if you don't, to please her. Or you hide your softer, unmanly interests because you fear they'll break the illusion. We all have done this to some extent. It's called being Mr. Perfect in the early stages of dating, showing only your most acceptable side. The persona isn't inherently bad, it's a tool for social success. But overdosing on persona is dangerous. If you over-identify with that role, you start to lose track of your authentic self. You become, as Jung said, a superficial personality, preoccupied with others' perceptions. Sound familiar? Perhaps you've been the nice guy mask or the alpha macho mask, whatever you thought she wanted. The irony is, by wearing this mask too long, you ensure that she never truly meets you, and you never truly meet her. It's just two masks interacting. Her ideal man, your ideal self, while the real selves suffocate behind them. The shadow, the hidden self. Meanwhile, everything you've been denying and suppressing about yourself piles up in your unconscious as your shadow. The shadow is made of those parts of you that you or society have deemed unacceptable. Your vulnerabilities, your frustrations, your less flattering traits. Maybe you suppress your need for affection because real men don't need reassurance. Or you bury your artistic side because it's not manly enough. All that gets pushed into the dark. But here's the kicker. Whatever you repress will find a way out, usually through projection. Jung noted that we often project our disliked traits onto others. Ever notice how the things that irritate you most about her are things you can't admit about yourself? For example, you think she's overly controlling, not realizing you have control issues. Or she complains you're too cold and logical, and you scoff, not seeing that she has disowned her own logical side and resents yours. The shadow makes us blame each other for our own flaws. It fuels arguments that miss the real point. In relationships built on projection, the shadow often shows up as a monster lurking beneath the romance. Sudden bursts of anger, irrational jealousy, deep insecurities. These are your rejected selves clawing for attention. And until you integrate them, they will continue to wreak havoc. Unrealistic expectations and codependency. All these factors, anima, animus projection, personas, shadows, combine to create a perfect storm in a relationship. You end up with impossible expectations of each other, trying to make your partner live up to a god or goddess image, rather than accepting them as a human. She wanted you to be her knight in shining armor 24/7. You wanted her to be your angelic muse who's always loving, never critical. Both of you feel let down because no real person can fill an archetypal role permanently. This inevitably leads to codependent patterns. You each feel incomplete on your own and desperately cling to the other to provide what you lack inside. She needs you to validate her self-worth. You need her to nurture your emotional side. It's a needy, toxic dance. Your identities start to fuse. You become that couple that can't function individually. In Jungian terms, your ego identity becomes entangled with the projected image. You lose yourself in the relationship. You might even tolerate mistreatment or red flags because the thought of losing your other half terrifies you. This is classic fusion. Individual identity lost in a whirl of us, as each person tries to get wholeness from the other. And because neither of you has fully developed those qualities internally, you keep repeating relationship cycles. The same type of partner, the same breakup, over and over. Different faces, same story. As Jungians put it, you attract the same situation until you learn the lesson. Let's pause and take a breath. This is heavy stuff, I know. You might be thinking, so was any of it real? Was I ever loved at all? It's a gut punch to realize that what felt like destiny might have been a projection-fueled fantasy. But don't despair. There is a way out of this nightmare loop. In fact, Jung insisted that there is only one way out. But, fair warning, it's not easy. In truth, it's brutal, lonely, and not for the faint of heart. Ready to hear it? Climax: the brutal path to individuation. Here is Jung's ultimate challenge to all of us. Wake up from the projection. Stop the unconscious play acting. Withdraw the anima animus projections and reclaim them inside yourself. In plain terms, you must become a whole person on your own. Jung calls this journey individuation, the lifelong process of integrating your conscious and unconscious selves to become your true, authentic self. It means shattering the mirrors and facing what's really within you. Why is individuation the sole escape from this psychological theater? Because as long as you remain fragmented and dependent on another to complete you, you're doomed to repeat the projection cycle. Jung insisted that the only way to stop living in a fantasy is to develop the disowned parts of yourself so you no longer need to project them onto others. This path is akin to a spiritual crucible. It will burn away your illusions, and that hurts. What does individuation actually require? First, brutal honesty. You have to recognize your projections and say, "That wasn't love. That was me chasing part of my soul." You have to admit your role in your own suffering. No more blaming all women or that hat-crazy ex. As Jung observed, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. Now, you must do the opposite. Face your soul head-on. Next, you must confront your shadow. This is perhaps the hardest step. It means digging up all those ugly, painful, embarrassing parts of yourself that you buried and projected onto others. Jungian therapists call this shadow work. It's like descending into your personal underworld. You might uncover childhood wounds, fears of inadequacy, anger and neediness you never admitted. It's dark down there. Many run away at this point. That's why most people never individuate. It's far easier to slip back into denial and find a new lover to project the fantasy onto. But if you turn back now, you'll just go in circles. To quote Jung, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." In other words, own your darkness, or be owned by it. As you integrate the shadow, you also begin to reel back your anima-animus projections. Practically, this means you stop seeing women through the lens of your needs and fantasies. You begin to recognize, she is not my mother, not my goddess, not my cure-all. She is a person. And likewise, you stop letting women define your worth. You develop your own inner feminine side as a man. Your capacity for empathy, vulnerability, creativity. So you no longer seek a woman to complete those parts of you. One Jungian writer put it this way: "A man hungers for validation in his masculine world, but that validation can only come via his feminine side. This search for completeness drives him first toward a physical woman, but later on an inner journey to his own anima." Translation: you won't need to chase a woman's validation once you've found self-validation through integrating your anima. The same goes for women integrating their animus. They learn to trust their own inner strength and discernment, instead of projecting it onto a man. This process is intensely difficult. It can feel like a kind of death, the death of your old, dependent self. You may spend a period utterly alone as you peel off your personas and reclaim your projections. Jung noted that individuation is often a solitary path. Society offers little help because society prefers the comfortable mask and projection games to continue. You might lose relationships that were founded on your old false self. You might step away from dating entirely for a time, focusing on understanding yourself. This is normal. It's the cocoon stage, the caterpillar dissolving so the butterfly can form. And let's be clear, most people will never do this. It's much easier to keep blaming the opposite sex or to numb the pain with distractions than to face the inner work. That's why Jung's truth feels so dark. It demands you take radical responsibility for your own soul. But if you've listened this far, some part of you is ready for it. You wouldn't still be here if you were looking for easy comfort. You're here for the truth. Transformation. Reclaiming your soul. So what happens if you walk this arduous path of individuation? What's on the other side of the tunnel? Simply put, you become whole. You emerge as an individual, indivisible, complete in yourself. The man who integrates his anima no longer unconsciously seeks a mommy or muse in every woman. He carries his own feminine source of meaning inside. The woman who integrates her animus no longer projects a hero onto men. She owns her power and inner authority. Both become capable of real love for the first time, because now when they look at a partner, they see that person, not a blank screen for their projections. Imagine entering a relationship as a whole man. You don't need her validation because you trust yourself. You don't hide your true self because you've made peace with your imperfections. You don't idolize or demonize women because you understand they are human, wonderful and flawed, just like you. This transforms the entire dynamic. Now authentic intimacy becomes possible because two real people are present and seen. You give love without desperation and you receive love without the filter of illusion. Here's the paradox Jung noted. The less you need a woman to complete you, the more attractive and magnetic you become to women. When you have individuated, you emanate a certain solidity and authenticity that is rare. You're no longer the needy young man unconsciously begging, "Please be my other half." You are whole, and that wholeness is highly compelling. Ironically, once you truly do not need validation, you often receive more validation and admiration than ever before, because people are drawn to those who are self-possessed and independent of external approval. It's like how the moment you stop desperately chasing love, the right person appears. Why? Perhaps because you finally have something real to offer, your true self, and you are capable of accepting the other's true self in return. Individuation also arms you with healthy boundaries. If you encounter someone who tries to project their fantasy onto you, like the woman in our opening hook, you see it for what it is. You can gently step back and say, "I'm not the savior you're looking for. I am just me." You won't be as easily ensnared by flattery or idealization because you recognize the warning signs of projection. The instant perfect love scenario now raises a red flag. In short, you become conscious where you were once blind, and that consciousness is freedom. Finally, as a self-realized man, you might actually inspire a partner to do the same work. A healthy relationship becomes a place where two whole individuals grow together rather than devour each other. Jung believed the ultimate aim was achieving the state of the self, a unity of all aspects of psyche. Individuation is essentially becoming who you were meant to be beneath all the social conditioning and unconscious baggage. And when you reach even a piece of that state, you radiate a quiet confidence. You no longer seek a woman's permission to exist, nor do you see her as an object of conquest or completion. You can finally meet as equals, soul to soul. That is the miraculous result Jung promises if you have the courage to walk this path. The call to action: face the truth. Let's recap the brutal truth. That fairy tale romance that felt like destiny? It was likely a projection-fueled hallucination. The brutal lesson is that as long as you look outside for the missing pieces of yourself, you'll remain stuck in a cycle of disappointment and dependency. But, and this is crucial, if you turn inward and do the hard work, you can break free. You can experience a relationship that's grounded in reality and mutual respect, not in subconscious fantasies. So I leave you with a challenge. Ask yourself, am I brave enough to face my own darkness? Am I willing to be alone for a while, to be misunderstood, to do whatever it takes to know myself? Most men will shy away, shrug and say, "Nah, it's just bad luck in love, not that deep." But if you've made it this far, I suspect you're not most men. Prove it. Do the uncomfortable work. Start by observing your relationships, past and present, with new eyes. Identify those patterns we talked about, the instant infatuations, the neediness, the masks you wear, the traits in women that trigger you intensely. Write them down. You'll start to see the outline of your anima and shadow in those patterns. It might disturb you. Good. That means you're on the right track. If this video hit you hard, don't run from that feeling. Use it. Jung wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." That pain is your initiation into a new life. Embrace it and begin the journey of individuation. It's the greatest adventure you'll ever undertake. The hero's journey into your own unconscious, to slay your dragons and rescue your inner self. And when you return, you won't need to chase princesses or be a puppet in someone else's story. You'll be the author of your own life. If you found truth in this, if something inside you is resonating, then act on it. Let this message sink in. And as a first step in the outer world, consider sharing this video with someone who needs to wake up from their own psychological dream. Leave a comment about a pattern you've noticed in relationships. Naming it is the first step to breaking it. And subscribe if you want more content that doesn't shy away from the uncomfortable truths. This community is for those seeking depth and authenticity. Remember, who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. The truth was inside you all along. Wake up and claim it. The only permission you need is your own.